हाय एवरीवन, मैं हूं आंचल पाठक और 5 पैसा में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हमारी ऑडियंस को एक बिग थैंक यू बोलना चाहूंगी हमारे वेबिनार को ज्वाइन करने के लिए। इस सीरीज में हम इंडिया के सबसे एस्टैब्लिश स्टार्टअप्स के फाउंडर से बातचीत करते हैं और हम जानेंगे कि एक एंटरप्रेन्योर या फाउंडर बनने के लिए आपको किस टाइप का माइंडसेट रखना चाहिए, आपको कैसे स्ट्रगल्स फेस करने पड़ते हैं और कैसे डिसीजंस फेस करने पड़ते हैं। तो चलिए मैं अपने गेस्ट को इंट्रोड्यूस करती हूँ। मुझे आज ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं मुनीश भाटिया, फाउंडर फिनव्यू। मुनीश कैलिफोर्निया स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी के पास आउट है और उन्होंने अपनी एंटरप्रेन्योरियल जर्नी शुरू करने से पहले बार्कलेस और एचएसबीसी बैंक जैसे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के साथ काम किया है। मुनीश, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस टुडे। लेट मी इंट्रोड्यूस फिनव्यू। फिनव्यू की बात करें तो ये एक अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर है जो आपकी फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरली एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर प्रोवाइड करता है। इससे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस और कस्टमर्स अपना फाइनेंशियल डेटा इजीली एक्सेस कर सकते हैं। तो मुनीश, वंस अगेन थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस। और मेरा सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन आपकी तरफ ये है दैट टेल अस समथिंग अबाउट FinVu, बट गिव अस एन एग्जांपल एज टू हाउ FinVu ऑपरेट।
Yeah, so I mean, FinVu is actually we are a NBFC account aggregator, which is a new category of NBFC which falls under RBI. But just to give you in simple terms, as an example, let's say today someone wants to take a loan or they want to manage their personal finances, right? They typically, as part of the whole loan process, it could be a personal loan, it could be home loan. You need to share your financial information so that the bank or the lender can actually verify your income. They can verify your cash flows, whether you are able to, pay the EMI. For that, financial information is required, right? So now, in today's day, you will actually go, take a printout from your bank portal, net banking portal, and then hand it over to some agent, or you may do it yourself by uploading the PDF. But all of this is pretty cumbersome as a customer. So now with this platform and ecosystem with many institutions joining in, you can now instantly share this information by giving your consent. So it all boils down to somebody who's able to share their information by giving a consent. And that's what we as FinVu as a platform or in account aggregator, which facilitates this whole exchange of information. And also, it's not only about lending, it could also be about your personal finances. So there's a whole lot of use cases that are now coming up in the market.
Right, sounds quite interesting and also very convenient. But can we talk about security, because this is your financial data that we are talking about?
Yeah.
So how secure is the platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely secure. One is that we are a regulated entity, which means we fall under RBI. There are certain guidelines which every account aggregator has to follow. So that ensures the trust with this from the citizen's perspective. Second thing is, the information. Let's say you have an account with, one of the banks, and you want to share it with some lender from where you want to get a loan. The information shared by the bank is encrypted, which means that it cannot be read by us because we are not allowed to store that information. So the whole entire end-to-end flow is such designed in such a way that it considers security. Of course, as the information is encrypted, it's only your lender or your trusted financial institution who can actually read it. And second thing, now with the whole DPDP Act, there are even stronger guardrails which are being put into the ecosystem for every participant to follow. So I think overall it's pretty much safe, and you can instantly and securely share information. So security should not be a concern. It's built into the design of the ecosystem.
Right. So let's talk about the inspiration behind FinVu. What made you think that this was something that the current financial ecosystem required?
Yeah, see, I mean, we come from, coming from a corporate career in banking. So I worked with primarily banking technology and worked with international banks. But we are very keen in terms of what's happening in India, be it on the payment side or any of the banking services side. And, obviously there's a lot of digitization, which was happening in India. We kept following on to what kind of platforms that can be built out, At first, we thought probably, US and UK are pretty advanced in terms of tech, but I think with the whole India stack and the way UPI is built out, I think India is far ahead. And as part of that stack, obviously the consent layer is something that also interested us, and it sounded that it became easier for institutions to provide financial services much easier and to build their entire digital stack. That's how we got into it. Obviously, we had our own personal experience in terms of when we had to deal with our own finances, and that got us interested. And we went ahead and applied for a license way back in 2017, actually.
Right. So, talking about the early stages, and this is something that I ask every founder, what kind of initial pitfalls did you have to overcome? Because obviously, especially in the finance space, I imagine that setting up a startup is not easy. So, what are some of the biggest things that you had to overcome to set up FinVu?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much problem with all startups really in early stage. I think one is lack of capital, having resources, and mainly around business connects. These are, I mean, the fundamentals from the initial stage itself. So when we started off, obviously, there were some of these challenges, and I think the way that we looked at it is basically you have to be actually on the ground. You have to do some of these things, some of the stuff on your own. You may have to be hands-on if you're building a tech, do things on your own. And of course, it was always a challenge to deal in a regulated environment. So, I mean, convincing banks to join the ecosystem or other partners, it has been a challenge. But some of these things over the time, I think you have to just keep going at it, and at some point you'll definitely overcome.
Right. So you mentioned that convincing banks to, take part in your, to sort of sign up for the platform was initially difficult. So going into a pitch meeting like that, what do you keep in mind before doing that? And if somebody is in a similar situation, if somebody wants to pitch a fintech product to a bank, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, see, I mean, initially when I think if you're in the financial services or a fintech, you have to deal with regulations. You have to understand, from the perspective of where the banks are coming from, right? I mean, generally it's a very highly compliant or regulated environment. They have their own set of processes. So I think keeping that in mind, you need to be cognizant that you will not get decisions overnight. So I think you have to be prepared mentally for that. And I think what would also help is such ecosystems, it's not only one as an individual can do it. It requires a lot of participation from other institutions, any nudging from other experienced network organization. I think that would getting attached to some of the organizations definitely helps. So if there are fintech organizations who typically focus on fintechs and create a network, I think it's good to get attached to them. So we worked very closely initial days with iSpirit and Rebit, which is the IT arm of RBI, to actually define some of the tech specs. We conducted webinars so that they understood some of the either the nuances or the benefits of joining the ecosystem. And I think that kind of helped us initially in the initial days. Obviously we had to showcase some use cases, so that gives better perspective to the banks or any financial institutions. So that's how they started seeing the benefits and started joining up.
Right. You spoke about mental challenges. Was there any point in your startup journey where you thought that that's it, I am done, I am giving up, this is not going anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, see, it's hard, right? It's never easy, and challenges are always there. But I think once you get in this entrepreneur, there's always, have to deal with ups and downs. But even if you're down and you think, okay, I want to give up, but there's always something that will keep pushing. So I think, we've always tend to push ourselves, okay, there is definitely, big scope ahead, so let's work on it. So I think, there was never a point as such that we thought, let's give up.
Right. You worked with big names, like we mentioned before, starting up your own startup. What are the two learnings that you have acquired from working at these places, which you perhaps have implemented in your own organization or in your own style of working?
Yeah, I mean, see, I mean, the since our ecosystem is around, fintech regulated, having come from, institutions who are banks or regulated, I think the importance of understanding the compliance and processes has definitely helped us, in terms of dealing with the institutions as well as, implementing some of it. So I think, those are the two key things.
Right. But having a set day job, then moving towards creating something of your own, did you have to considerably change your mindset that, okay, this is not going to be like working for a corporate, this is going to be a completely different ball game? How did you tell yourself that, okay, things are going to change and these are the things that I need to change about myself and my working style to be able to make this a success?
Yeah, I mean, definitely coming from corporate is a big mindset change. There you are working in a very, structured manner. You have a fixed, you work 9 to 5 or 9 to 7, whatever the time may be, and then have your weekend off, so you don't have to always think about work all the time. Of course, there are situations even there when you do have to work extra, but I think overall responsibility in a startup as an entrepreneur is much more higher. It's not only just looking at the business, you have to look at everything, every aspect of it, and even if you come from a tech, you still need to understand, finances, you need to understand company compliances, you need to go through, understand regulation, um, even looking at hiring, everything, every aspect of it. So definitely it's a big mindset change, and the style of working. And you pretty much, I think, you're thinking 7 days a week about how you can grow your business or what can be done on the business. So I think that definitely, was a big shift. But I think initial, there's always excitement, and that kind of gets one going.
Right. So you have to be a jack of all trades to become an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
yeah, yeah.
I understand you have a very small team right now. When you initially set up your team, how did you convince them to come on board that this is something that they should get involved in? Even now, if you face any hardships when you're in a big corporate, uh, sort of the shock, the seismic shock, sort of gets spread over because there's just so many of you. But in case with a startup with such a small crew, if you face any hardship, how do you convince your employees that there is a brighter future ahead? How do you hold the team together?
Yeah, I mean, see, initially when we started, it was just us founders. We kind of built from the ground up. And the way we took it is, we obviously getting, senior folks to join in initially is always hard, because they are in their, maybe they're in their set corporate life, and, they don't want to, they're in their comfort zone. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone. So we took the approach to, bring in a couple of freshers who are fresh grads out of college, and they're always eager to learn, right? And that's how we, worked. We trained them, we worked with them, and then, get started growing the team, from 3 to, at least 10 people. And then obviously, that challenge is always there in terms of, what's the future of the company. And I think now with so much of information available on the internet, people do read. So in some way that helps. So people understand now, okay, what is this business about? They read, either it's in media or somewhere, then definitely that gets them interested. So that makes our job a little bit easier. to convince that, hey, okay, you're part of this, revolution, the entire fintech revolution or digitization that's happening in India. I think that uh, gives us little bit ease in terms of convincing them to come on board. I think the challenge will start, or rather is more with dealing with getting senior people. And obviously we've tried to work with them, try to make them understand what the business is about. So yeah, it's been challenging, but I think slowly, I think with people understanding and people doing a lot of reading, it's making our job a little bit easier. And then
Right.
creates a network effect. If one person joins, then they pass on the message to their colleagues, other colleagues, so it kind of creates a good network effect.
Right. So what is the future of FinVu looking like?
Well, I think we just started out, so a long way to go. And this we feel this ecosystem is here to stay. And definitely it's going to be critical for every financial institution to use. Every citizen, I guess, in their financial life will at some point interact with an account aggregator, for what a financial service. So we would look to build on this thesis and build products that will help the institutions to look at offering better services to their customers. We also obviously want to ensure that our platform is scalable. So these are some of the things that we look to expand. And I think there's a lot of market here in India, so I think we are pretty positive on it.
Right. So, can you tell us about the work-life balance of an entrepreneur? I ask every founder that I meet this because we've also had a discussion on this, and you said that you're completely occupied 7 days a week. You're thinking about how to grow the business. Do you get time to indulge in any hobbies at all, or is it just work?
Yeah, I mean, see, initially, definitely, even if you do land up looking at, okay, maybe Sunday I'll take some time off, but you're always constantly thinking about work. So it's not that you can leave your work out of your life 100%. There's always that thought process going on in the mind. But yeah, I mean, there are days that you tend to switch off, or maybe keep some hours on a weekend so that you can focus on other things. But yeah, but otherwise most of it is work is there always on the mind pretty much.
Right. So we are done with all our main questions. I do have a small rapid fire round for you. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So my first question, three entrepreneurs who inspire you.
There are quite a few so very hard to put names, but I think any single founders, I mean, it's tough for them. I would, get inspired by any single founders.
Okay. Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Reading or Netflix?
Don't get much time, but given a choice, then I think any OTT content is good.
Okay. Three qualities that an entrepreneur should have.
One is conviction. I think you need to be grounded and be flexible.
Right. Most underrated thing about being a founder.
I think being a founder, there's a great personal development, I feel. There's a vast learning. And obviously you start becoming resilient, or rather, I would say thick skin.
Okay. So what's the most overrated thing about being a founder?
I would say being glamorous and freedom.
Funnily, that's what everyone says. One last question. Is there, before you start entrepreneurial journey, do you wish that there's that one thing that somebody would have told you before you started off?
I think it would be that maybe having the right mentor early on, or a good
Right.
advisor. So I think that would have helped. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Munish. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have, but you have been great company, and I'm sure all our viewers must have learned a lot from your journey. And once again, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best for the future. We look forward to see what all FinVu can do.
Thank you so much. Thanks, it has been great.